here. Subscribe so you never miss an upload.
Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor Dungeon Master, and this channel is about independent role-playing games. And we're taking a look at two different games this week, linked by a common theme: anthropomorphic animals. I've been critical on this channel of like the bunnies and the turtles entering the Dungeons and Dragons realm because that's just not the game I grew up with, but I have nothing against anthropomorphic animals, and these games are more lighthearted and I think they do it well. So we're going to be taking a look at Zoo Mafia from the guys at Nerdarchy and Dragonbane by Free League. Full disclosure before I start, this is not a paid review. I did receive a PDF version of the quick start rules of Zoo Mafia, and Dragonbane I purchased myself. With that out of the way, let's take a look. Zoo Mafia is a humorous role-playing game where players play a group of anthropomorphic gangster animals called a mob, and the game is run by the game master, here called the zookeeper. The premise is when the sun sets, the animals leave their cells and the zoo becomes a kind of Chicago in the 1930s, run by three mob bosses: Machine Gun Otto, Carlo Hambino, and Al Capone. The goal of every mob is to do jobs and get made by one of the three crime bosses. So there are factions. One will be an ally, one will be an enemy, and one will be neutral. The classes include Button, Grifter, Safecracker, Lookout, and Driver. Buttons are tough guys, Grifters are smooth talkers, Safecrackers are thieves, Lookouts are your scouts, and Drivers drive vehicles. And there are lots of vehicle chases in this game. Let's take a look at the character sheet. Characters have 6 stats: awareness, magnetism, moxie, precision, sly, and wild. What animal you play doesn't really make a mechanical difference. And you could choose your starting stats from a column which is super fast and convenient. Health is your hit points. Markers allow you to manipulate the game either mechanically or narratively. You get to choose from a menu of moves which are described on the character sheet. I love that, so convenient, and equipment is listed on the character sheet as well. So the mechanics, like all Powered by the Apocalypse games, when you roll the dice there are 4 possible outcomes: failure, success with consequences, success, and critical success. These consequences are decided on by the players and the zookeeper, who negotiate the results together. For example, if you're in a car chase, success with consequences might be you ram the opposing car but your car is damaged. Critical success might mean the other car flies off a cliff and blows up. A marker is like inspiration or hero points. You can use it to create a success, negate damage, do bonus damage, or edit a scene. A forward is a plus or minus to your next roll. When the zookeeper calls on a player to make a roll, you roll 3 d6s. 1 d6 is your ally die, 1 is a neutral die, and 1 is an enemy die. The group chooses the mob boss that is your ally at the start. Let's say it's Al Capone. When you roll, you add your ally die and neutral die to the stat and you get a result. If you roll high enough, you succeed. If a die comes up 6, it's called a boss result. In our example, if your boss is Al Capone, you get a bonus effect like gaining a marker or a forward. If you get doubles or triples, you get a bonus effect. If the enemy boss face shows up, you can lose a marker or gain a negative forward. The mechanics have an appropriately Vegas-y feel. When you're on a hot streak, you can get really hot, and it creates this dynamic where you really can't wait to roll the dice. It comes with a scenario called Runaway Rum, which I played. It's only 2 pages, but it took about 2 hours. Zoo Mafia's rules are what I call spongy. They are super flexible and allow the game master to run everything from car chases to shootouts on the fly without losing momentum or getting lost in modifiers. The action is fast and fun. You need a game master who's good at improv and making decisions quickly, and the same goes with the players, and I think this game works best with 4. I played Zoo Mafia a couple of times with the creators, and I think it's a fun game. I think it's a lot like Toon. It's probably the only game I can think of that occupies that space where it's played just for laughs, and it makes a great palate cleanser between serious games, or like maybe you've just ended your epic campaign. You want, that palate cleanser before you start a new campaign. It's a lot of fun. I've never been the biggest fan of Powered by the Apocalypse games, mostly because of that mechanic with success but with consequences, because sometimes on the fly, it can be tough to figure out what those consequences might be, and it might gum up the game. But in this case, I like Zoo Mafia's introduction of these other dice with the face value. They add a dynamicism. Is that a word? A dynamic to the game, which is more unpredictable and fun. It's like the exploding dice mechanic in Easy D6. And I've enjoyed the games of Zoo Mafia I've played. And the next game we're going to take a look at is the box set of Dragonbane from Free League. Okay, let's take a look at Dragonbane. This box weighs a couple of pounds, and it's really substantial. It's very well reinforced, so it's not going to crush easily. Inside, a quick start procedural, a rule book. It's about 100 pages, thick, slick paper. Adventures, and it's almost as thick as the rule book. Adventure cards and treasure cards, dice, some stands for standees, blank character sheets, pre-generated character sheets, a map of the world, which is beautifully illustrated and is so big it won't completely fit in the screen, and monster and hero standees, which I think should have always come with the Dungeons & Dragons game, considering they're just made of paper. So this is a lot of stuff. I find the easiest way to learn a game is by looking at the character sheet. So we're going to do that now. We've got 6 abilities: Strength, Constitution, Agility, Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma. They pretty much line up to D&D stats. Those form the basis of a number of skills. I think there are 15 or 20 of them here. They're very self-explanatory: brawling, performance, persuasion, etc. Damage bonus from strength, damage bonus from agility, movement, willpower, which you use to cast spells, and hit points, which is a measure of health. They work like D&D hit points. Hit points are equal to your constitution, so you'll have about 10 to 16 hit points, and they don't really increase, which means Dragonbane doesn't suffer from the hit point bloat that slows down D&D at high levels. Dragonbane is a roll under system. If you want to do something, you want to roll low, like a 9 is pretty good on a 20-sided die. Dragonbane is a roll under system, so you're trying to roll under your score, so 7 would be good. You want to hit something, jump over something, talk to something, you want to roll low. A 1 is a dragon, which is awesome. You get some sort of bonus like additional damage. A 20 is a demon. You suffer a critical setback. When casting spells, the spell might misfire. If it looks familiar, that's because it's essentially RuneQuest, but instead of using percentile dice, you're using a D20. Dragonbane is a Swedish game, and it was actually popular in the 1980s. It evolved from RuneQuest. So instead of armor making you harder to hit like in Dungeons & Dragons, it absorbs damage. It's all about how to roll the dice and the abbreviations. Kin, these are the types of creatures you can be. They're humans, halflings, dwarves, and elves. Mallards are ducks, and wolfkin are wolf people. It's a little goofy, but it's also fun. It kind of has a Darkwing Duck kind of vibe. Yeah, this is a game that doesn't take itself too seriously. There are 10 classes: artisan, bard, fighter, hunter, mage, knight, merchant, mariner, thief, scholar. Each comes with gear, possible names. All the information is put on the page. There's no flipping. You determine attributes by rolling 4d6 and dropping the lowest. And like Black Hack, to succeed, you just roll under that attribute. Then you have skills, heroic abilities, gear, encumbrance, experience, how to roll the dice, rolling dragons and demons, boons and banes, which are advantage and disadvantage, heroic abilities like backstabbing. So it's a bunch of feats and skills, rounds and initiatives. So in Dragonbane, you determine initiative by drawing an initiative card, and whoever I think gets lowest goes first. Dodging and parrying. So like in RuneQuest, you can dodge or parry a blow. Again, by rolling under your skill, it will allow you to avoid a blow or reduce the damage taken. We have ranged combat, which works the same way. You roll low on a 20-sided die. Healing, resting, riding animals. Schools of magic. There are, I think, 3 or 4 different schools of magic. There's like general magic. This is the magical mishap table. And then we have a number of different specific schools like animism, elementalism, mentalism, and each has about 15 spells that you could choose from. So there's not as many spells as in D&D. However, your wizard will be very focused. And I find in D&D generally you end up choosing the same spells and focusing the wizard anyway, so that's not such a big deal. When we have gear, weapons, and armor, I gotta say, I love this art. It is evocative and it is consistent throughout. It really sets the tone for this game. Really well done. I'm always critical of pages that look like parchment, but in this case it works because the pages are bright and the font is clear. Like I can read this. And then of course we have a bestiary and how the monsters work and You got your typical monsters. We have demons, ghosts, dragons, goblins, giant spiders, etc. Love that goblin. Very Tony Dieter Lizzie. Art by Johan Egerkrans. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Skeletons, trolls, etc. And the Game Masters section, which is pretty brief. Alright, let's take a look at the adventure book. I've never opened this before. Got an introduction. Ooh, a very nice map. Roads End Inn, Village of the Day Before. That's kind of cool. Really well done. Nice. We have the opening scene, the situation, the characters arrive, and then we have a map of the town. I love that 3D map. Very cool. We've got some armed villagers there and some NPCs. They are very well illustrated. The stat blocks are clear in those sidebars. It has a very Lost Mind of Phandelver feel. It's got a journey and a town and locations. So this is a crypt with about 7 or 8 locations in it. That's perfect for an evening's worth of play. The maps are very well done. They're very clear. We have some ghosts here. Yeah, this looks like good stuff. Look at that kid tied up by the giant spider. It's got a very European kind of Brothers Grimm sensibility. Probably will last several sessions worth of play. At 116 pages, that is a lot of value. Dragonbane bills itself as mirth and mayhem, and I think that's apropos. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I think there's enough crunch here, though, to have a substantial game that could last for a long campaign. But I enjoyed both these games. They're a lot of fun, and I think as box sets go, Dragonbane has a lot to offer. But that's what I think. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Also below, you'll find links to the Zoo Mafia Kickstarter and the Free League website, where you can get Dragonbane and other great games, as well as my own game, Deathbringer, and Dungeon Craft Patreon, where you can watch extended video content. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon. May all your rolls be 20s. Hey, Deathbringer, what do you think of the mallards in Dragonbane?
I love them and look forward to learning more about their long history, unique customs, and rich culture.
You're cooking the duck, aren't you?
I am.
Oh, no.
And while he's basting, order my t-shirt and watch more Dungeon Craft.